right, let's check the audio mic check. Refresh. Fine. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hello. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me check. Audio, USB, USB. Okay, it's a little better. Well, seems to be okay. Seems to be okay. 1, 2, 3. I wish it didn't auto adjust. So terrible that it keeps on auto adjusting without me. I don't want it to auto adjust. Can you not auto adjust? Anyway, let's get started. So, right. So, yeah. So, can we prove? Let's prove. Wow. Sabine has a video from 5 minutes ago. That's amazing. Let's watch it. Let's watch the video.
Science and I don't trust scientists.
1 second.
I don't trust science and I don't trust scientists. There, I've said it. Yes, it's taken me some courage because after you've watched this video, some of you call me a science denier.
Okay. So I see already that she's getting a notification. United Nations climate change. This is this is to remind you that this is just to remind you. They're just reminding you like you're going against the consensus. You know, the climate change, the United Nations. The United Nations is a political organization of politicians. It's not some. It's not anything different than it's just a bunch of politicians, a bunch of corrupt politicians. That's all it is. There's nothing scientific about that organization, and the fact that YouTube brings up the United Nations in juxtaposition to an actual scientist, whether I like her or not. I mean, she is, to me, obviously, just a little bit more of a scientist than the United Nations. I mean, she is a scientist, and the United Nations is politicians with their agendas. So, why would YouTube bring up whatever it is the United Nations has to say about climate change? Oh, the climate, the climate, oh, the climate, the climate. Well, what? What about the climate? There's nothing happening. It's another beautiful day. What are you talking about? No. The climate. The climate is blowing up. The earth is burning. The earth is blowing up. Everything is the universe. It's the end of the universe. Yeah, there's no indication. Yeah, you're a climate denier. You're climate. Yeah, it's the same old witch hunt. It's there's nothing. There's nothing to it. So they have the gall. They have the audacity. YouTube has the audacity to bring this up. I mean, she is the last person I would say is a warming denier. She is always going with all the warmongers, the warming hysterics. She's one of the biggest hysterics. So YouTube now has a note on her video. I mean that this is anyway. Let's hear it.
And maybe you're right, maybe that's what I've become. I certainly deny any evidence against the benefits of coffee. Yes, make that triple. But seriously, I've good reasons to mistrust science and scientists, and so do you. I mean, look at this stock image of a scientist. Would you trust that guy? I wouldn't. Yes, that means you shouldn't trust me either, and you shouldn't trust climate scientists. No, I don't. And that's what I want to talk about today. Some of you have been following me since approximately the Mesozoic era, and you remember that I've been highly critical of research in the foundations of physics. I've literally written an entire book about it.
Yeah, I never read it, but this is when I discovered her, when she started talking about her book, and it was unbelievably eye-opening for me. This is one of those moments in my life, because I don't think until then I even thought twice about scientists as a cult, and she actually talks about scientists as a cult. A wild, deep thought. This is from Forbes. Whatever. How beauty leads physics astray. Lost in math. Sabine Rosenwerder.
Back then, when people still read books in the Mesozoic era. Today, we do 10 minutes YouTube videos. So, to make a long book short, most of what physicists do in the foundations of physics today is pseudoscience. It's paper
Wow. Wow.
production with no scientific merit.
Foundations of Physics, approximately 2024 symbolic image. Toilet paper.
That teaches us nothing about nature. It's mathematical fiction.
Let's see if I know anything here. I guess Planck's. No, this is like a Hamiltonian of C, psi, whatever, I, Planck's constant, derivative relative to time. Okay.
Multiverses, tales about the origin of the universe and invisible particles that no one ever finds. But that in and of itself is not the problem. Wait, I'm serious, damn it. It happens every once in a while that some research area drifts off into pseudoscience. For example, the early studies on extrasensory perception, ESP for short, that's telepathy, telekinesis, and so on, that was once proper science. It was a phenomenon worth investigating. I mean, who hasn't wished they could use one or the other magical force? Of course, scientists were on the case. But as time went on, it became clear that there was nothing to find, and the people who were still working on it were just pretending to do science with sloppy statistics. So pseudoscience pretends to be science, but isn't.
Sue Unicorn.
This happens because scientists not only make mistakes, they sometimes make new mistakes. And if that happens, the scientific method itself needs to develop to demark the new mistake as pseudoscience. ESP studies, for example.
Sean Carroll says there is no pseudoscience. There's just maybe good science and bad science. There is no pseudoscience. You're working too hard. If you're gonna demark something as pseudoscience, I would not do that. I wouldn't say flat Earth is a pseudoscience. Which is it's a scientific theory that that is falsifiable, and it has been falsified as far as I'm concerned. But it's a good theory. God is not a good theory if God is imperceptible. So I mean, and it's not pseudoscience. It's just not science by my definition. I never use pseudoscience. Like you're hurting people's feelings, and that I would not do. I wouldn't do that. I would say your theory has merits, or doesn't have merits. I used to believe it. Now I doubt it. Be nice. Don't hurt people's feelings. What's the point?
Led to the development of better.
So she has city limits. That's not healthy. That is not healthy. This is how you get pseudoscience, because people rebel against this notion of city limits. Like you're saying that what you do is good and what they do is defined as bad. It's outside of the limits. It's not good to have these limits. It's just not good, and it's unscientific. So your notion of science silly limits is unscientific. By my definition of science, my definition of science has no limits. Any theory can be proposed, and I can then say, well, by my definition, it's unscientific. Let's reformulate it in a more scientific way. We can improve the scientific efficacy of your formal of your proposition. We can improve your proposition to make it more and more and more scientific. There's always room for improvement. Right.
Statistical methods such as double-blind trials. The new
Double blind trials is just the beginning. You can have everything should be double blinded. It's not just like double blinded is just a trial, but everything should be double blinded. Everything. The person proposing the theory, no one should know their name. The person doing the review, no one should know their name. The person reviewing the statistics, the test plan, the comparing every step, every little step should be completely blind. No one should ever know the names of who is involved. No one should ever know. It should be completely scrambled, and it should be everything should be not just double blinded, not just a trial. Everything should be blinded. Everything. Who, if somebody writes a new paper, it should be blinded forever. No one should ever get credit for it. I know it's difficult to, yeah, but that's the point. Like, that is science. So if you are taking credit, then you're reducing the science, how scientific it is. You're hurting the objectivity. It's no longer as objective as it was, because now people say, "Oh, it's this famous guy wrote this paper. Oh, who am I to discredit this paper?" So that's not good. That's just gonna slow down progress. What we need is to be more objective. For objectivity, we need more blindness.
new mistake in physics was that physicists came to believe that if you can write it in maths and it's falsifiable, then it's scientific. Unfortunately, it's the other way around. If it's scientific, then it's falsifiable. Now, if you make that mistake,
No. What are you talking about? Falsifiability is the requirement, my requirement. I don't know about you, but my requirement for a scientific proposition is falsifiability. Like, you claim Einstein's relativity is true. Fantastic. You need, as you say that, you must tell me exactly how to falsify it. If you don't tell me how to falsify it, which is what this video is about, then it's not a theory. It's not scientific. I don't know what it is. It's basically garbage. I don't care that it's been validated from here to tomorrow. It's not scientific. It's not a valid scientific theory. You need to tell me how to invalidate it, how to falsify it. So tell me how to falsify Einstein's gravity, Einstein's whatever, relativity.
then suddenly all kinds of nonsense ideas become scientific, and that in a nutshell.
What's your problem?
And suddenly all kinds of knowledge to believe that if you can write it in maths and it's falsifiable.
Why do you need to write it in math? That doesn't make any sense. Einstein's relativity is based on thought experiments. The math is just the geometry and stuff like that. But the intuition is just that. It's just intuition. It's just our experience. It's nothing to do with math. Einstein's equations are, yeah, they're mathematical, but that's just a tool that Einstein used in order to express his intuition. But the intuition is not mathematical.
Then it's scientific.
I mean, it's a requirement. One of the requirements for a scientific whatever is falsifiability by my definition. This is not necessarily by anybody else's definition. And it was Karl Popper who came up with it, as far as I know, which is brilliant.
Unfortunately, it's the other way around.
What do you mean, unfortunately? I don't know what you're saying. I don't know. I don't understand.
If it's scientific, then it's falsifiable. Now, if you make that mistake, then suddenly all kinds of nonsense ideas become scientific.
So I have no idea what you just said, but apparently, if you get that wrong, which I don't know what you just said, everything falls apart. But I don't know what you just said. I agree that a requirement for science is falsifiability, but you said unfortunately it's the other way around. What do you mean? So I don't know what you mean. That the requirement for falsifiability is science? What? That doesn't make any sense. Falsifiability, in order, like one of the criteria for falsifiability is scientific? By whose definition? By people who believe in falsifiability? Like science, okay, I have my definition of science, so I'm going to put criteria for the definition. Falsifiability, I don't have my own definition for falsifiability. That seems to be self evident. So I have no idea what she's saying.
And that, in a nutshell, is what happened in the foundation
Trying to see through her glasses who's there.
of physics. But the problem isn't that parts of physics drifted into pseudoscience per se.
La la la, I don't care. Parts of physics drifted into. Again with the pseudoscience? Why is she obsessed with pseudoscience? Like, she's naturally an elite. Why? Like, only an elite. This is the hallmark of an elite. Like, like Einstein said, since mathematicians invaded relativity, I no longer understand it. It's like what is this nonsense with invasion? Like this pseudoscience is like people are invading her perfect science. Why do you care? It's like it's an open house. Everyone can be scientific, and you should welcome everyone and then just criticize their science. By saying that something is pseudoscience, you're not even letting them in. You're shutting the door in their face. And then you're confused when they hate you. So you're the first one to be mean to them.
Because this happens every once in a while in the natural evolution of the sciences. The problem is that it hasn't had any consequences. We've recognized
Consequences? Again, are you out of your mind? You want to punish people for disagreeing with you? Are you out of your mind? This woman is nuts.
the problem with ESP studies, chucked them out of.
Okay, so science dealt with ESP. Was anybody punished? No one was punished. No one needs to be punished. There doesn't need to be any ramifications or repercussions.
Universities and updated statistical methods to prevent that from happening again.
It's not to prevent. It's I wouldn't use the word prevent. I would use make it more difficult. Like you're just defining your science in clearer terms, so that when people propose to me God, I don't need to debate it because I just asked them, is that a scientific is that a scientific proposition? And then they say no, it's not, and I tell them, okay, then look, we can reformulate your proposition as a scientific proposition. But that's going to mean that God is perceptible, that we can run experiments on God. Are you willing to entertain that? And either they say yes, and then fine, God is basically just another creature in the universe, or they don't, and they get upset, and that's fine too. But I don't waste any time having to prove to them anything about God because it's unscientific, and I tell them right away I don't accept it as a proposition. And it saves me time, saves me a lot of time and anguish.
Again, But physicists have been inventing unobservable things that no one ever finds for half a century and are still happily doing it, believing it's proper science. And if it can happen in physics, it can happen.
Oh, let's see. Dark photons, never heard of that. Neutralinos, dileptons, multiverses, WIMPs. Wait, WIMPs? Axions? You talk about axions. You've mentioned axions. Why are you complaining about axions? WIMPs? What's wrong with WIMPs? Weakly interacting something particles, like very big particles. I don't know, megaparticles or something. Why is that? I mean, it's a theory, and it's weakly interacting, but we can find. You don't like WIMPs? I never knew that WIMPs is unscientific or pseudoscience. Multiverse. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I don't like the multiverse.
Happen in other disciplines.
But not liking a theory, that's me. Some people like it. KK mode, extra dimensions. I don't like extra dimensions. String balls, I don't like string theory or anything that, I just don't like it. Some people do like it.
Too.
The problem is that the funding comes from everyone's pockets. That's the problem. The funding should be private.
That's why,
Government should get out of science.
after I finished writing my book in 2016, I began to worry that climate change was indeed a hoax. I can't
Oh, that's interesting.
blame people for looking at the foundations of physics.
So again, this is Heisenberg Sabine. Every time she talks about global warming, she has the opposite opinion of the previous time.
Concluding that much of it is obviously bullshit, and then saying,
Why does she curse?
well,
She knows children listen to this, so you want children to talk this way? But then their parents are going to punish them, so why would you talk this way?
see, you can't trust scientists, they're just making up climate change because are worried about the exact same thing. I haven't talked about this because I'm afraid that this'll just give some people another justification to question science. But I've come to
Wait. What? You worried that it's going to cause people to question science?
exact same thing. I haven't talked about this because I'm afraid that this'll just give some people another justification to question science.
What's wrong with questioning science? What's wrong with questioning anything? Why would that worry you? Why would you care? Science is your private, like it's private. It's yours. Your science is your science. No one has anything to say about your science. Why are you worried about what people might say about your science? And then it's like you're talking about the science. That sounds like a government operation.
I'm afraid that this'll just give some people another justification to question science.
Yeah, question science as if there is this objective science. No, there isn't. There is your personal science, and you can defend your personal science as much as you want.
But I've come to think that not talking about it, just
Aliens are here. It's a theory. Earth is flat. That's a theory. Why are you wearing a tinfoil hat? Some people claim you should wear a tinfoil hat to prevent, the government sending radio waves into your brain. Okay, it's a theory, whatever. Why are you so upset?
makes it worse. It
Burns aren't real.
makes it look like we've got something to hide. If you miss
Yeah, you behave. The way you behave makes people think that you're hiding something. You got to be open. Don't close the doors and say this is not science and this is not science. No, just be open. Let anyone. I think I'm being very open. Anytime somebody proposes a proposition, I ask them, is that a scientific proposition? That's it. I only have scientific discussions. That's my prerogative.
mistrust scientists, you're
Trends in U.S. public confidence in science and opportunities for progress. Opportunities for progress? Arthur Lupia, Arthur Lupia, David Allison, Kathleen Halley, Jennifer Haim, whatever, Skipper. In recent years, many questions have been raised about whether public confidence in science is changing. Why would you care? What is this nonsense that it's why is it your business? Why is it your business? I mean, it's your fault. It's your fault. You as a scientist, it's your fault. Like it's my fault. If the public like I don't know what it means to distrust science. I talk to people, about my personal theory and if they mistrust my theory, then it's my job to convince them of my theory and that's it. Now, if people believe in all these things that I don't believe, then it's my job to convince them. But but these government scientists, it's like the government needs to step in and force people to believe in what we believe. That's terrible. You're gonna get that's an action reaction. You're just gonna get a reaction, and people are just gonna distrust science even more. It's gonna backfire. You're creating the problem that you're warning against.
Not alone. A recent study by members of the Strategic Council of the US American National Academy of Sciences found that about 80% of those polled say scientists are competent and trustworthy, but the remaining 20% doubt scientists' motives. They doubt that scientists still stick with science when it goes against the scientists' self interest, like access to grants or other financial support.
Yeah, okay. That's basically the rationality assumption. Yeah.
I think they have good reason for this doubt.
Okay, I would say 100% of scientists are susceptible to this.
Indeed, the pursuit of self interests most
That doesn't mean that scientists are always lying. It just means that, for example, they like scientists. If I need scientists would never actually question Einstein. Like even if I sit down to talk with a scientist and I would prove to them that whatever that we can disprove Einstein's postulate about the equivalence principle, they would laugh at me like, "Okay, go ahead." They're not gonna take a side. I don't think so. I think they're all afraid. They're all afraid of losing their grants and losing um, the respect of their peers. So yeah, it's too much. You wrote a book. It's too much. It's a cult. What do you think a cult is? That's a cult. You wrote about it. You know about it.
mostly financial stability is what's driving the problem in physics. It's baked into the current organization of the research system. The
Yeah, yeah. People are egoists. Welcome to the universe.
vast majority of scientists I know are not doing research to get rich. If you're interested in money, you do something else, like getting born rich. But still, they need
That is such a ridiculous statement. They're not interested in getting rich. They're interested in a comfortable life, and they have a comfortable life, and they don't want to rock the boat. Getting born rich is obviously not a strategy.
some income to pay rent and feeds the kids, right? And this is why they have a strong incentive to inflate the relevance of their research. To most of them, this comes naturally because they're excited about what they're doing. But the scientific community still has no requirements whatsoever that scientists address their own biases. There's no education, no training, no guidelines, nothing. That you expect scientists to generally exaggerate the relevance of their research isn't just
What is she talking about?
a problem for the public perception. It feeds
What do you care about the public perception?
back into the community. You now have all these people telling each other constantly that what
Zabine, let me help you. Why don't you open up a Discord and start debating people in a public forum like I do? Just engage with the public one by one, have a discussion about any topic. Engage. You're a scientist. You have amazing tools that the public has no. For the public, you are a Jedi master. You can do anything in a debate. Why don't you start debating? That's the only way to change people's minds.
what they do is super important and they come to believe it. It's a classic example of what's called social reinforcement. Yeah, same spirit that keeps flat earthers going. And it's the same thing.
So debate flat earthers. Just debate, debate, debate. In the beginning of YouTube, there were these debates between the atheists and the religionists, and the atheists mopped the floor with the religionists' faces. And now, and that's it. I mean, so do the same. Just go berserk on the flat earthers. Like take them one by one, one by one, one by one, and demolish them, mop the floor with their faces. Debate, debate, debate. And then maybe you'll realize, I don't know what you'll realize, but what do you want us to do? You want us to, like, shock therapy flat earthers? That's only going to create more flat earthers. They're going to distrust you because now you're behaving like a ruthless dictator, which is what you are. So, like, you're creating the problem that you're complaining about. Your behavior is creating the problem that you're complaining about. You're fulfilling your own prophecy.
Going on in climate science? Of course. Does that mean that climate change is a hoax? No, it's worse than that.
I wouldn't say climate change is a hoax. I wouldn't say anything. Flat Earth is not a hoax. Religion is not a hoax. These are not hoaxes. These are just religions. It's a creature with its own nature. People who belong to cults, usually really believe in the cult. And when you start, asking questions, you might be able to destabilize their belief in the cult. But you need to very lovingly, very slowly talk to them slowly. So you're not going to be able to attack. If you attack, they're going to attack back. So don't do that. And you're attacking, and then they attack back, and you're surprised. So don't do that. So instead, you got to come from a direction of compassion. When you debate people, it has to be for their benefit and for your benefit, and you need to enjoy it, and they need to enjoy it. It has to be very friendly. You are trying to change someone's mind. You're trying to mind meld with them. That is basically, it's something almost intimate. So you gotta slow down. I understand that you're worried about the universe. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I'm worried about people like you destabilizing the universe. And you are fulfilling the prophecy. You're fulfilling your own worst fears because you are acting on your fears. This video, look at your face. You gotta make this video is when you need to make all the jokes in the world. You gotta make us laugh. Like usually you make us laugh where it's mostly inappropriate. In this video, your face is so serious that it's like it's too much. No one is going to be convinced. No one is going to change their mind when you look like this. You gotta be more chill. You gotta be more chill. You gotta take it easy. Like if you behave as if it's the end of the world, you're gonna put everyone in this mode of end of the world. You're gonna get the end of the world. Instead, you gotta be in the mode of everything is chill, and what you guys have to say, it's interesting, but there's just no evidence for it. We can go, we can compassionately go through each and everything you say. Let's go gently. So they're going to mistrust you. I speak to people. Whatever I say, I'm trying to be as nice as possible. But if I seriously disagree with them, they interpret it immediately as bad faith. When you present something that is 180 degrees of what your debate partner thinks, they're going to think you're bad faith. If they believe something and you believe the opposite, obviously they're going to think you're bad faith. So, You got to be prepared for that. They're going to keep telling you that you're bad faith, bad faith, bad faith. I just yesterday I was talking to my best friend online with Judas. He didn't stop complaining. It wasn't recorded. He didn't stop complaining that I'm bad faith and bad this and bad that. We were talking about Israel is a race or Israel is racist. I don't know what he meant, but he couldn't believe it that I don't hate Israel as much as he does, or something like that. So, and he felt that I'm being bad faith, which I understand. I understand him. I've heard enough people with their hatred of that group of people of that descent, that I know that it's a popular position. So I'm not going to just come as the anti-popular position, and they would believe that I'm good faith. That wouldn't make any sense. Everyone knows, if everyone believes a certain position, and I come with the opposite, as much as I can tell them, look, I really mean it, to them it's going to be, that is impossible. There's no way you really believe that. Everybody knows X, and you say not X. That's impossible. That cannot be. And to them, something is wrong. That's impossible. That's like, it's the most illogical thing to say. So you have to be prepared. Let's continue.
I'm not a climate scientist, and I swear I have no aspirations to become one. But
Why would you say that? Why would you say that? You know as much as anyone that I don't know what you know. But why are you self-deprecating? Why don't you want to be? Why would you say that? Why would you say that you don't want to become X scientist? You keep saying science is not just my job. Science is my way of life, really. So why are you saying that I don't want to be a climate scientist? Believe me, that's the last thing I want to be. Why would you say that? And what is a climate scientist? You're a scientist. That's a mindset. That's a way of living your life and approaching questions. It's a philosophy. It's a system. Why would you not be a climate scientist? You are a scientist. A scientist. When you talk about climate, you are now hereby a climate scientist. Why would you not be? Well, what is this nonsense? I am not. Why? Don't. I wouldn't say that.
that mean that climate change is a hoax? No, it's worse than that.
It's worse than that's like the end of the world. Is it the end of the world? No, it's worse than that. It's worse than the end of the world. Oh, come on.
I'm not a climate scientist,
Climate change is worse than a hoax. Oh my god.
and I swear I have no aspirations
Why are you swearing? Why don't you have any
to
aspirations?
become one.
Why don't you have aspirations to become one? What is this nonsense? You talk a lot about climate science. Why would you say you're not a climate scientist? What is this nonsense? Why are you saying that? Are you assuming that other people who know science and climate know better than you? How can you ever know that? There's no way you can know that.
But I've spent a lot of time trying to understand the basics,
Then you're a climate science. Congratulations.
read a lot of papers and textbooks, and attended
You read a lot of papers and textbooks, yet you're not a. Come on, why would you say you're not a climate scientist? That's nonsense, obviously.
seminars and talked to climate scientists,
Are you out of your mind? You're obviously a climate scientist. You're even a prominent climate scientist.
etc. I'm not asking you to trust me or anyone really, but I found no major reason for
Well, you should never ask anyone to trust you. What's the point of trusting you? What's the point? I don't understand the point. Why would you ever ask anyone to trust you? Ever about anything? Like, I don't ask my friends to trust me about anything. Yeah, like, I don't care what. If somebody asks me what is the time and I tell them it's this and they say no, it can't be. I wouldn't say, yeah, man, you gotta trust me on that. What? I mean, it's got to be like a weird set of circumstances for me to say, you got to trust me. Trust me on this one, bro. I wouldn't. I don't think I've ever said that to anyone. Trust me.
Concern about climate science. Is the climate changing? Yes. Are we
Yes. Why- that's an assertion. Why don't you go through, slowly, step by step, and prove it to us? I've been listening to you for years, and you've presented a lot of, presentations, and I've not been. My mind has not changed. I've listened to everything you said. My mind has not changed. I don't remember if I understood any of your presentations. I just listened to your presentation about relativity. I don't understand it. I wrote a comment over there. I think you're wrong about relativity. I'm not an expert. I don't know what an expert is. I've been studying relativity now for a couple of days, intensely. I think I understand gravity, yeah, and science, and the theory of science, and the theory of relativity. In my opinion, I would say in certain respects better than anyone else in history, including Einstein. And you're wrong about it. And you're wrong, in my opinion, about climate change. You're wrong about many things that I've heard you talk about. So, you once presented a paper about the black hole singularity from Kerr. I listened to you and I quoted you that you said that his math checks out whatever. Then I heard Penrose react, and a bunch of people react, and they said there's nothing new about what he's saying. And anyway, I don't know if you looked into whatever. I don't remember at this point. Anyway, one second. Let me check if there's anybody with me. No one in the room. Oh, two people. Oh my God, we have so many. Jesus, talking about comments. All right, let's read some comments. This is from about half an hour ago. All right, I would be okay with that, but not for paradigm shifts. Well, you have to tell me with what. You would be okay with what? Fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas. Is that? Yeah, that has nothing to do with it. All right, next comment. Jaws incarnate. You disprove space time. Yeah, I have a video. I don't use those terms. There, like relativity has nothing to say about time. It has to say about the rates of ticking of clocks. I wouldn't say that's time. So, yeah. You do know that the level of falsification you are asking for, you would have to chuck out practically everything we know. Wait, who are you talking to? Me? You do know that the level of falsification you're asking for? I'm just like, give me the falsification for relativity. What do I need to do to falsify relativity? You gotta give me the experiment. I need to know. If you don't give me the experiment, tell me exactly the experiment to conduct and exactly the results you expect to get in order to falsify relativity. If you don't tell me that, then relativity is not scientific. I don't know what it is, but scientific it is not by the falsification standard. Dark photons are predicted at or near heat death. I don't know. I mean, you like a black hole. You could say is black because the photons are stretched to blackness. I call it the black shift. So, but I don't know if that's black photons. I'm not sure what a photon is, so I don't know what to say to that. So it depends on inflation. Well, you keep making comments. I don't know about what. I love What is The UN? Symmetry coordinates. What are symmetry coordinates? Stop picking on her. She would eat you alive. Well, she doesn't debate. So I don't think she would eat anyone alive. you need to practice debating in order to, be able to do anything. How could she eat me alive? I mean, I listen to her. Like, I know what she doesn't know. She doesn't know what I don't know. But I'm not, I'm not here to win anything. I'm not interested in winning in a debate. That's boring to me. I'm just curious about the universe, and I'm not picking on her. She is I would say, one of my favorite, if not my favorite scientist, and she's very wrong about many things, but she is my favorite scientist. She's the least corrupt scientist in the world, maybe one of the least corrupt. So her Lost in Math, to me, just the notion that scientists are a cult, that's amazing. That was an eye-opening video when I watched it. Once I saw it, I watched all her videos, which include a lot of super cringe songs. I don't wish on anyone to listen to her cringe songs. Really, really, I'm sorry, Zabine. I did not enjoy any of your songs. But that's, it's just not my taste. Be a skeptic, but not a cynic. I'm not a cynic. I'm very serious. I'm not a cynic. I'm not saying anything cynically. I would say I'm healthily skeptic. I'm skeptic as much as I feel is me. As long as I'm skeptical about something, I keep investigating until I become somewhat satisfied and I feel okay. I'm no longer, it doesn't bother me. The thought doesn't eat my brain any longer. Like I was really curious, what the heck did Einstein know or did not know about the Michelson-Morley experiment? When did he learn about it? Like, I still don't know. So, but at least now I saw that in 1950 there was an interview, and somebody finally asked him, "What did you know and when?" And he said, "Well, in 1905 when I wrote the paper, never heard of it." Which is bizarre. You wrote how could this be? But everyone, when they teach, everyone, I've never seen anyone that doesn't. When they teach relativity, they start from the Michelson-Morley experiment. Everyone, but Einstein didn't. So his relativity has nothing to do with what everyone perceives is relativity. It can't be the same. It's a different mindset. I don't think Einstein had the thought of disproving the ether. I don't know. I don't remember because I saw him in 1920 saying that there is ether. So I don't know anymore. What was his position at any time? I don't know. I don't know what his position is. I just don't know. So I'm still skeptic. I'm just curious. What was his position? I'm just curious. Should I give him credit? Should I not give him credit? Was he a scientist? Was he not a scientist? I don't know at this point. I honestly don't know. I'm so confused about the history of relativity. And simultaneously, I don't think at this point, I don't think it's a scientific theory because I don't know how to falsify it. You got to tell me how to falsify it. Now, this video is titled, Let's Prove Einstein's Equivalence Principle Wrong. Or maybe I should say, Let's Disprove Einstein's equivalence principle wrong. I didn't mean to view this video. This video is not about that. I just noticed her video, so I watch all videos. I don't think I've ever skipped a video by Zabine. We just got a message. Oh, in general. Wait, let me see this. General. Send what? Send it to me. Okay, and we have a new guy. APEC electrostatic propulsion, or I don't know what that is. Okay, and there's something here. Somebody's saying here something. No, something new here. Check this presentation. Why don't you join me in the chat and tell me about it? I'm never going to get to it. There's way too many videos that I need to. I have so many tabs open. And I still need to make so many presentations. I need to write so much. So I don't know if I'm going to have time to view this presentation. So he talks about microsynmol experiment relativity. Well, many people talk about this, so there's nothing new. You gotta. Why, Sanis? Why don't you come in to the chat, to the general VC, and talk to me and tell me what you think. Also, interesting channel in general. Okay, let me check. Uh,
Shiva, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. So you're going to be doing a presentation on the neoclassical interpretation, and so you have a lot of stuff. Actually, I have been begging you for the audience. I've been begging you to come back and present more because,
I really appreciate it.
you've been talking about like a modernized aether theory in some ways, kind of an interpretation of what people are describing as the quantum vacuum foam and things like that, as well as vortex dynamics and cymatics, and these.
okay, so his interpretation that the ether is the quantum foam, yeah, I've heard this from other people. It makes sense, but the vortices, I don't know anything about. Shiva Mauchi sounds Italian.
These things resonate so strongly with research that I've done in the past and what other people have seen. I'm just like, he has something. You guys have to listen. So I keep begging you to come back on and present.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Yeah,
Levitation.
It's one of those things like, hey, even Frank Wilczek recently put out a book mentioning the ether. So you go back to 1951, Dirac saying that we have to have an ether, or 1920, Einstein saying space without ether is unthinkable. Yeah, there's just a lot of ways in which it's
Right. Now, I don't like quoting people that's appeal to authority, but yeah, I mean, if Dirac also said it and Einstein said it many times, yeah, I guess it's okay. We should not have to do that, but we don't live in a perfect world, I guess.
disappeared. So that is a great lead in to this presentation.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. I'm really excited. And again, I should apologize to everybody. I had a
UFO
really
crash.
nasty cold this week, and so my brain is kind of halfway there, And so
Recovery
I'm
sample.
just very well myself.
well, yeah, it's part of it's that time of the year, right? It's hot as heck out there. But
Oh yeah.
so let me put that up, and I will remove myself from it. And thank you yet again, sir.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to, I guess I'll do a little bit of a recap. And the funny thing is, to lead from the previous to this one, that we will actually get to a reason why you should separate space from time, as
Yeah, that's good.
he mentioned in his presentation. So to just kind of recap where
Who mentioned?
a reason why you should separate space from time, as he mentioned in his presentation. So to just kind of recap where we were, because this is, I'm trying to keep things concise, and there are, just so many different ways in which I could go with this. So trying to keep it down to just 1 hour has really been teaching me to get, small bite-sized pieces here. But going back to my previous presentations, basically what we're looking at is the fact that there was this basis of relativity. That relativity existed for 15 years before Einstein. There was basically in 1889, George Fitzgerald is who gave us the first publication of the change factor, in its earliest form. And there were people who developed an ether version of relativity. And understanding how they came to the idea of relativity, what the mechanical reasoning is going to be something that will lead a thread up through all of modern physics. Now, whenever we talk about
So he uses the term mechanical. That's good.
ether, a lot of times people are going to immediately think that is, the ether and relativity they don't go together. And that is the problem that I've been working 20 years to solve.
Correct. Relativity and ether go together very well. There's no issue.
That belief that is complete falsehood. There's absolutely no reason to believe that whatsoever. Relativity persists with an ether, and we're talking about
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually much more straightforward with ether.
a luminiferous ether, a light-bearing medium, a physical reason for waves, and then that sort of thing. So let's get my first slide here. I need to switch over to that screen.
Right. Good.
And that's all right. So starting with John Stuart Bell, he is the, when it comes to scientists who actually remembered and demonstrated that they actually understood this subtle differentiation that occurred right there at that historical point. John Bell, but this quote is the very most recent scientist that is a well-known name in physics, etc., that actually demonstrated an understanding of this. And so he says basically is that we need to go back to relativity as it was before Einstein, when there was ether, the preferred frame, and that a lot of our ideas come from this sort of optical illusion. Now, when he states these things, a lot of people, if they are brought up,
Really? John Bell from Bell's theorem? Well, you see, I don't really know. For me, it is not something where I have a solution to sell. For me, it is a dilemma. I think it is a deep dilemma, and the resolution of it will not be trivial. It will require substantial change in the way we look at things, but I would say that the cheapest resolution is something like going back to relativity as it was before Einstein. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, when people like Lorentz and Poincaré thought that there was in ether a preferred frame of reference, yeah, it is the preferred frame of reference, but that our measuring instruments were distorted by motion in such a way that we could not detect motion through the ether. Yeah, it wasn't distorted, just that I did the calculations, and of course, there's no way Michelson and Morley could have gotten anything but a null result in any direction, even vertical. You would get null result. Now, in that way, you can imagine that there is a preferred frame of reference, and in this preferred frame of reference, things do go faster than light. No, nothing goes faster than light because light is just the. I mean, unless space itself, the ether itself can go faster than light, sure. But then in other frames of reference, when they seem to go not only faster than light, but backwards in time, that is an optical illusion. Yeah, I don't think anything goes, I don't see why you would. There's no going back in time. Time doesn't exist. Time is just the ticking of a clock, which is based at most on light waves. So at most, the ticking could be as fast as the waves in the ether, which is the speed of light. There's no going back
in the typical teaching regime
in time.
That teaches you something that is based upon Minkowski's presumption of isotropic constancy. His words here are going to sound strange, and I want to clear that up. That's what we're going to work on today. We're going to talk about.
Minkowski was like Einstein's geometry teacher and came up, I think, with the curved geometry mathematical tools
a little bit of
the tensor and stuff, I think.
Beforehand, because you have to understand that I want to use the experimental record we already have to show you something that is a new way of understanding what those experiments are telling us. And so that is what John Bell was talking about at this point. So the experiments we're going to start talking about is going all the way back to the Fizeau experiment, and it's going to lead up to Max and Morley, Sagnac experiment.
Yeah, I don't know. I heard about Fizeau. I never looked into Fizeau's experiment. Fresnel prediction of partial ether drag.
And it's round the world Sagnac, Hatfield, Keating, and Young Wang. So it's just kind of a quick overview of some of the things I want to touch upon. And basically, Fizeau proved he proved Fresnel's prediction of partial ether drag. Michelson and Morley was not a null result. That when you use the partial drag.
No, in my calculations, Michelson is a null result because the ether is way too slow. The ether is just 10,000 meters per second coming down, which Michelson never tested. And the ether at the equator, I don't know, it's between 1,000 and let's say 1,700 meters per second. That's at the equator. At the North Pole, it's zero motion sideways, horizontal motion of the ether because of the rotation of the Earth. Let's say halfway through in Ohio, in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm assuming it's halfway through the northern hemisphere from the equator to the North Pole. So I'm just going to extrapolate that it's half of like 2,000 or 1,500, let's say about 500 meters per second. So let's say about 300 meters per second. So divided by 300 million meters per second. So that's a million. The ratio is one to a million. So by my calculation, there's no way in the universe that the 1 meter arm interferometer, 2 meter arm, 3 meter arm, 10 meter arm, 1 kilometer arm cannot detect that. That's so for 10,000 meters per second, I calculated that you need, well, I think for 10,000 meters for our ether using a laser with 0.65 micrometer wavelength, you need about a 300 meter arm, meaning a 600 meter interferometer standing vertically. If it's horizontal, it's not 10,000, it's about 500 in Cleveland meters per second. So that's about, let's say 10%. From 10,000, it's 1,000, let's say. It's about 10% of that, so 10 times is big because it's relative to the velocity squared. The ratio is the velocity squared to no, so you got to square the velocity. I did a calculation It's basically 1 to 1 million. So the ratio is 1 to 1 million. Anyway, it's even worse. So it's gotta be, I would say, about a kilometer arm. I would say Michelson would have needed a horizontal 1 kilometer arm that rotates. Right, the interferometer would be a 1 or 2 kilometer in radius in order to notice any change in the interference. So obviously he didn't have that. He had like a desktop. So wait, let me check the messages. So there was a very small interference pattern detected, I think, but he'll talk about it. They considered it null because they predicted a much higher number. Based on what? What did they? I've been thinking about why don't we know what their prediction was, and based on what? They predicted the Earth is flying through the ether. Why would you assume the Earth is? Oh, Jaws, what's up? Can you hear me, Jaws? 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? 1, 2, 3. You need to get your audio. Something is wrong with your audio. Can you text me if you're trying to say anything? So, okay. I mean, yeah, we need to look into that. I don't know what's going on with Michelson. I don't know what he was. I didn't see his pre-paper. When somebody conducts a test, he needs a test plan, and he needs to tell us exactly what he's predicting. That's the gold standard, I would say, of the scientific method. Like, tell us, okay, I predict that I'm going to find this and that. So if he got an interference and it just barely moved, I'm blown away. But yeah, that's what I expect. I expect it to be tiny, 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 because instead of a 1 meter arm, it needs to be a 1 kilometer arm or even more. And I came to the conclusion that it's better for it to be horizontal because the best you can, because I mean, you could get the vertical wind of he was devastated about the null. I know. Yeah, I know. I know he was devastated. Oh wait, I'm not sharing the tab. Okay, sorry, but not sharing the tab. Uh, Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's get back. Fix your audio, Jaws. I don't know. You're not getting a signal, so you gotta refresh and disconnect and reconnect. I guess it's your first day on Discord, so good luck with Discord. Wait, did I share the link? Oh, I never shared the link. Let me share the link. Oh, hamburger and fries. How are you? Let me
Hey,
share.
morning. How are you?
Oh, good morning. I'm okay. For me, it's late because I'm traveling, unfortunately. We have Jaws with us, who's having a hard time with his audio, I think. So he says, "No, it's my headphone charge." Um, yeah, so charge your headphones. I'd like to talk to you. Let me just share. What's up, Hamburger? Let me just share. Let me share with everyone the link to our Discord so you can join us if you want. What's up, Hamburger?
Oh, I came from PNR. This dude was
Wait, I can't.
harassing me.
Wait. I couldn't hear you. What did you say?
I said I just came from PNR. Some guy was harassing me, so I left.
Oh, PNR is politics and religion?
Yep.
Hmm. Yeah, a lot of people on Discord are very abusive. A lot of people online are very abusive.
It's true, yeah, but I feel like. Hold on, one second. I just go wipe my hands.
Wait, let me just read some comments because I'm overblown. People are blowing up the comment section. So Cruise Ship says, let's just figure out the moon landing in before internet outage. Well, the moon landing did take place. It's just that it was was just a financial disaster. What was the point? It cost so much. What did we gain from the moon landing? So I'm against the moonshot. The entire moonshot was a financial disaster. Let's read from Jaws. So Jaws says, we measure the geodesic effect, frame dragging of spacetime around Earth, as predicted by Einstein's general relativity. Quantum entanglement contradicts the ether's implications of a locally interacting. I didn't yet get to quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement seems to violate the speed of light. But quantum entanglement, there's no transfer of information. There's no waves of information in quantum entanglement. So that does not seem to be a violation of Einstein's speed limit. I don't think the CMB supports the ether theory. There's no issue with the CMB. What's the issue with the CMB? The cosmic microwave background? No, it's not violating. It is appearing. I don't see the issue with the cosmic microwave background. I don't see the issue. There's no issue with that. Yeah, Hamburger. What do you got?
Well, I was just gonna say, when it came to like people being abusive, like Discord is more of this environment where you're talking to people like one-on-one verbally, and then it's like people skirt under the radar because there's less to report. I've also noticed a few Discords had this rule they wouldn't accept like video evidence of members like harassing other members because of the possibility it could be deep faked, and I'm just thinking like what's the actual possibility of that? Like that seems really ridiculous.
Yeah, I would say let everyone behave however they want, and just I guess create your own private room and stuff. If somebody, I don't know what to do. Like we have some people in our server that misbehave and hurt people's feelings, and I'd rather not. Like when they attack me, so I can server mute them. But maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just personally mute them. Because like when
It's
I'm
more like intense than that because it became like a criminal threat where he was like, I'm going to pay to have money like put on your head. And I was like, okay, well, and we were already talking about like ex-boyfriends stalking us or like people on the internet stalking us, like just as women, like stuff we have to put up with. And I was like, yeah, given the context of the conversation and given that that was what you said, like that's absolutely like moderatable, you know? And I was like, dude, I'm not gonna stay somewhere that thinks that it's just okay for me to be spoken to like that. Like, I've already dealt with people stalking me from the internet and like had people come to my house and like go through my garbage and harass me with shit. So I'm not just like let people talk to me however the fuck they want.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a problem. I'm lucky that I've not been doxxed yet, but I guess it's just a matter of time.
It really is. And the thing is, like, some people aren't doing it like maliciously. Some people are just like, oh, that's where you live. Like, I saw this or like something, and like I don't know how to take that either because sometimes people hide like their malicious intentions with like a friendly facade.
Yeah.
Like that's even weirder. Is like sometimes like
Yeah.
the actual enemy is just pretending to be your friend, and that's like it's just disturbing.
It's so funny. You have people like YouTubers like Tim Pool. He literally has guns and swords on the wall behind him, and Destiny has
Right.
a big gun on the wall behind him. It's like, here's the message: you show up, you're dead. So everybody knows I have a gun. You show up, you're dead, and end of discussion. And they probably moved to states where it's open carry, just for that. So I think YouTubers in the long run would have to go to states with open carry. They just wouldn't have a choice. You wouldn't survive anywhere else. Like if you want to be online,
Right.
you gotta be open camera. You can't avoid it. So the
And you don't want to be in LA where everything is so close together and everybody knows everybody either, because then you're constantly monitored. So
Mm. Yeah. Okay, let me just read. I have Jaws. He's really interesting. So he says, so where was it and what role did it play in ACDM? I don't remember what ACDM is. Remind me, ACDM. That's like the theory of the Big Bang, basically, of inflation. Play. Let me get this. Search Google for ACDM. Oh, Lambda. Yeah, Lambda CDM model. The Lambda CDM model includes an expansion of metric space that is well documented both as the redshift of prominent spectral absorption or emission lines in the light from distant galaxies. I didn't look into that enough to have an opinion. I don't know why you really need inflation. I don't know. I don't know why you would need inflation. Like they say, in order to create like the evenness of the temperature so that the temperature is the same everywhere, you need it to be really fast. I don't understand it. LIGO would have detected the ether right. So what I've been thinking is that everything is the ether. You could say that the quantum foam is the ether, and the fact. I mean, everything is the ether. General relativity is the ether. So I came to the conclusion: if modern science, modern physicists, if they want me to disprove, if they want to claim that Einstein's relativity is scientific, then they have to tell me what experiment I must conduct in order for relativity to be falsified. They need to supply the falsification. Uh, that's it. Amber, what do you think?
I don't understand what you guys are talking about.
So,
Do you want to reiterate it?
yeah, so in order for a theory to be scientific, it must be falsifiable. So when you come up with a theory, with a scientific theory, you must come up with the experiment to conduct in order to falsify the theory. So whatever your theory is, it's not good enough to prove it. You also have to tell us how to disprove it.
What if you can't disprove it?
Then it's not scientific. I know it's difficult to believe. It's like it's not enough to prove that it's correct. That's not enough. You have to tell us how to disprove it. Basically, the proof that it's correct, that means if we run the same test and get the opposite result, that's how we falsify it. So you need to tell us exactly what is the experiment that we conduct, what result should we get in order to disprove general relativity or any scientific theory. Let me just read some more. So he says, test at the LHC proves QFT. QFT. So no ether needed. What is QFT? 1 second. Search Brave for QFT. Quantum field theory. Quantum field theory is a theoretical framework that combines. Yeah, I know what, but what do you mean? QFT is ether. What do you mean? No, you see, that's my point. Quantum field theory comes out of general relativity. It is part of, right? If we say that we're suspended in this liquid, so everything must wave through this liquid. Everything must be a wave. So quantum field theory is the ether. The field is the ether. Everything must wave in this liquid. This liquid is the ether. That is the ether. So you can't tell me no ether needed. That's why I say you got to tell me what disproves relativity, because if QFT is not good enough to prove that there is an ether, then what is good enough? Then nothing is good enough. Q of t is the ultimate proof. If everything is a wave, wave through what? A wave through a vacuum? That doesn't make any sense. All I have is a giant canvas map of old medieval Europe in German. What? Lambda, cold, dark matter, big bang. Okay, look, I don't like reading. You're writing a lot. Stop writing. You gotta fix your mic. You gotta fix your mic. We cannot have so much texting. I'm not gonna keep up because you have a lot of good stuff, but I'm not gonna read because it's putting me to sleep. It's turning off my brain. Amber, do you have this issue? If you read, your brain shuts down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also have dyslexia though. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have many dysfunctions in my brain. I basically have no brain. Like I like whatever I do. Like if it's math and geometry, I'm good at math and geometry, but I'm really slow to absorb new ideas. Like people, they learn new stuff really quickly. I learn it so slowly, but when I get it, I usually run circles around everybody else. But until I get it, I grow old. So that's what I am. It's like my brain is very bad at absorbing new stuff, but it's really good once I start thinking about it, everything connects and everything fits perfectly together. Okay, Johns, you gotta stop typing. I'm not gonna read anymore because I want to go back to even I want to even listen to the video that you sent us. Let's listen to this video. Amber, so if you go to the stream, you'll be able to hear it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to hear it. I can't play it. Yeah, it's up to you if you wanna listen to it.
Drag that was proven by the Fizeau experiment. It actually predicts the Earth's motion. The Sagnac experiment, it utterly contradicts the idea of constancy, the one that.
Okay, so what is Fizeau? What did Fizeau say? So let's look up Fizeau, because I've heard a lot about it. Fizeau, whatever. How do you spell Fizeau? Fizeau. Oh, there's YouTube about Fizeau experiment. Fizeau experiment. The Fizeau experiment. Maybe we have a YouTube about Fizeau experiment. Let's just search YouTube for Fizeau. Okay. Fizeau experiment. Fizeau 1850. So this is basically 15, 20 years before Michelson. Fizeau 1850 experimental measurement of the speed of light. Okay.
To the 8th meters per second. And Fizeau, this amazing. So Maxwell was all like, hey guys, I think that the speed of light is really fast. I think it's like, well, because he had these constants from electricity and magnetism, I think it's 3 times 10 to the 8th meters per second. And Fizeau, this amazing French physicist who did all kinds of cool things, including some really seminal work on capacitors, in 1850 was sitting around by the fire reading, he was reading Maxwell's work. And he says, well, let's figure out exactly how fast light goes. Now, think about that. How the heck are you going to find out how fast light goes if somebody just told you they think it goes 300 million meters in a second? That means it's going well more than all the way around the world within 1 second. That's going to be a pretty tricky thing to measure. So it's 1850, and here's what he does. He takes a mirror, and it's only like semi-glazed mirror. This is a pretty typical thing that we used in physics. It's a semi-reflective mirror, and that means that some light can get through it, and some light will be bent off of it. So that mirror is sitting right there, and he's going to take that. Well, here, look at this. There's a semi-reflective mirror. Okay. He takes it, he ripped it off of a car. Just kidding. And then there's light here.
Let me open it separately so I can stop it. So Fizeau, basically, he's the one that gave us the speed of light through an experiment. Wait, let's check. Where's Fizzo? Where did it go? I think this is Fizzo. This. I have so many thingies open, so many tabs open. I don't know. Where? Okay, there it is. Oh, we're still streaming Fizzo. Okay. So, yeah.
Here. So he has this laser pointer, or maybe it wasn't a laser pointer because it was 1850. It probably wasn't even a light bulb. It was a candle or a lantern in 1850. And the laser light, anyway, comes out here and it goes, pew, and some of it reflects off of here, but we don't care about that. But what I'm concerned about is that some of it goes through and passes through this devious device. And the device was like, well, let me kind of draw it for you. It's like this circle, but it wasn't a complete circle. It had these notches in it, which had little holes in them. And let's say that it had 20 holes in it. I don't know, something like that. And it looked like this. So this guy, if you spin it, enables light to get through sometimes. If I spin it fast enough, you can kind of see through it. Let's see that. Can you kind of see through that? Probably not, because it's kind of dark, but I can, and I can see through it sometimes. Now, the beautiful thing is, the laser beam would only get through this sucker sometimes. So let's say the laser beam made it through. But the problem is, the laser beam's going to hit another mirror. This is a high-quality mirror. And the only way that laser beam can make it back, the only way the laser beam can come back is if it happens to pass through another one of the slits. Because by the time that first slit, let's fit a big distance here. Let's make this a long way away. All right, cool. The only way the laser beam can make it back is if it comes through the next, or maybe the second next, or third next of those slots. And if this distance is, I don't know, rooms or a kilometer or something, then you'll be able to see, oh, where's the eye of physics going to be in this problem? Let's make it a blue eye of physics up here. And we'll say that this is our observer who's watching the experiment with some nice eyelashes. And you want to know if you're going to see the light. So you're beginning to see the light.
So the only way the light would come back is if it traveled through this slit, came back through this. So it must have moved at least or this much. So you now know how much time it took for this to go there and back.
Is going this way, and it comes back only at exactly the right frequency of spinning this disc. See, if you're spinning it too slowly, then you'd be blocked by, I don't know, this one or that one or that one. And so you spin it really, really, really fast so that it exactly goes through one slit and then comes back through the next. And if you're spinning too fast, then it'll be blocked by this little paddle right here. If you're spinning it too slowly, it could be in any one of those. But he spun it at his maximum possible speed, and he calculated with this distance, and he found, yep, that's the speed of light. Pretty ingenious experiment, if you ask me. He had gears, and he knew very well how precisely he was rotating the sucker, and he managed to get speed of light to some very good accuracy, backing up Maxwell's observations of just a few years previous. What? His name is inscribed in the Eiffel Tower. Hi, France. Good work. Beautiful tower, excellent guy named Fizzo, and you should go to France if you have the chance because it's really cool. Come on.
Okay, so now we know Fizzo's experiment. Okay, good to know. Let's get back to this guy. So that's Fizzo. What about Sagnac? Round the world Sagnac demonstrates east-west bias. I heard of Fizzo many times. Michelson Morley. I mean, we have to go through all of these. Oh my God. What about? Okay.
You can find 5 different quotes from Einstein saying that you have to abandon constancy because there's 2 types of constancy. There's the illusory, there's the perspective illusion that we are treated to by the mechanics of the universe type of constancy, which is a 2-way effect. And then there's isotropic constancy, which is this 1-way effect that was presumed by Minkowski after the fact and then foisted upon Einstein. Then there's these other the round the world Sagnac experiments demonstrates east-west bias. Keating also demonstrates an east-west bias, and Rui Wang shows that all of our explanations of the Sagnac effect.
Okay. What is the Sagnac effect? So let's go YouTube. Sagnac effect. How optical gyroscopes work. Sagnac effect.
Gyroscopes and the principle that they work based on, which is called the Sagnac effect. Hopefully I'm pronouncing the name of this person correctly. So
what about this?
Theory of relativity is one of the most successful theory of physics. Till now, there is not a single theory which can claim that the theory of relativity is wrong. But at early stage of its discovery, lots of physicists were trying to criticize the theory of relativity. But thanks to Einstein that he gave an accurate answer to all the questions. Today I am going to tell you about one of those theories whose name is Sagnac effect. I told you guys in my previous video that if we have to prove the theory of relativity wrong, then we have to confirm the existence of ether. Following the same path, Georges Sagnac performed an experiment by which he had almost proved that the ether exists in our universe. But the difficulty was not only to confirm the ether, but also to tell whether the ether is stationary in this universe or dragged by our Earth. So let us first know what he did in this experiment and how would he confirm ether's existence. A beam of monochromatic light was emitted from a light source and allowed to fall on a half-silvered mirror, which split the light into two beams. And the beams are allowed to follow a closed path through number of reflections, such that they follow the same path but in opposite directions. Both the beams meet at a half-silvered mirror, and finally the light exits the ring and we get the interference pattern on the detector. Here the experiment was done at a rest frame. Now the same experiment is repeated again, but in a rotating frame. Here results was quite different. The interference pattern was not same as
Wait, isn't this just an interferometer? I mean, isn't this just an interferometer? It's being influenced. This is just an interferometer. What year was this? 1913. Well, how is this not an interferometer? It's just two paths as it rotates, but it's rotating it's rotating fast. Why would you want to rotate fast? What do you gain from fast rotation?
that in the rest frame. Before knowing whether ether is in existence or not, you have to understand why we got a change in the interference pattern. When the apparatus was in the rest frame at that time, both the beams of light were simultaneously reaching the detector. But when we put the apparatus in rotating frame, we noticed that both the lights are reaching the detector at different time, due to which we got the different interference pattern. So here the time of arrival of both the lights are different. So we can say that their speed also must be different. But what happened in this frame that made a difference in speed of light? According to Sagnac, it is the same ether which interact with the light and slowed it down. And by this experiment he also claimed that ether is relatively static. But the sad thing for Sagnac was that one physicist named Michelson von Laue had already explained this method with the help of general relativity 2 years before his experiment.
Yeah, I mean, you can explain Michelson using relativity. Relativity doesn't make any sense because there's no ether, so it's just unscientific. But there, they don't. No one cares. No one cares that there's these contradictions, that there is no ether, but there is a quantum foam, and there is, and there is, and ether is that theory. It's a Heisenberg theory. It's there when they don't want it to be, and it is there when they want it to be. It's just totally, and no one cares. There's no one to answer these questions. So whoever you talk to, they'll just tell you, why should I care? My salary comes in either way, so why should I care?
According to him, the beam traveling around the loop in the direction of rotation will have farther to go than the beam traveling counter to the direction of rotation.
I'm not sure that he doesn't show the ether. You got to show the ether and how it influences. You got to show. You can't show me a beam. You have to show me a wave. So I don't understand this presentation. Okay.
In this video, I'm going to analyze the Sagnac experiment and show that it proves that the velocity of light c is relative to its source, which agrees with the Michelson-Morley experiment. The basic Sagnac ring experiment consists of a fiber optic cable in a circle, and at some point, a laser emitting correlated.
Too complicated. Yeah, what's happening with this Sagnac?
The Sagnac effect, named after French physicist Georges Sagnac, is a phenomenon encountered in interferometry that is elicited by rotation. The Sagnac effect manifests itself in a setup called a ring interferometer.
I wish any presentation would first start with demonstrating the experiment. Show me the experiment, show me the results. Now let's discuss it. What's the point of all these animations? I don't know what's going on. Everything, let's describe. Here is the Sagnac interferometer. Part 2.
The first video in this series, we described how to make a Sagnac interferometer similar to the one shown in the picture here. Today we're going to improve the sensitivity of the device by doing two things. The first is to enlarge the radius of the Sagnac loop, and the second thing will be to...
Okay, let's use this. This is an interferometer.
Is the Coriolis?
This is a gyroscope.
Is the
7 curve radiation. That's not it.
I think many.
Not it.
Okay, so here's the situation.
Max
Marx
principle.
principle. Yeah, that's useless.
In the part of Sagnac interferometer, we have changed. Now, in the part of Sagnac interferometer, we have changed the position of the mirrors and the angle of the beam splitter. First, what you have to do, again, you have to align. You have to first remove the magnifier of the beam. You have to place this one mirror and first mirror, second mirror in a triangle way. You can find all the things in the manual. Then you have to tilt the beam splitter by 30 degrees around. Widescreen should be on this side, on the left side, at certain angle also. Now you have to align two beams that is coming on mirror 1, mirror 2. They should be coincide on the one spot.
Oh, I have no idea what he's saying.
Now I'm going to turn
It
off
doesn't look like it needs to rotate. This thing is not rotating, so...
the light, and then you're going to see the...
Okay, that's useless.
In the part of...
Which they oscillate. We find
A good
Okay, Sagnac effect. Yeah. EPFL. That's like a European school, isn't it? I don't know. No explanation, so that's useless. What? Okay, that's useless. Okay, this is a waste of time. No one is discussing the Sagnac effect normally, so I don't know what they want from my life.
Theory of relativity या भौतिकी विज्ञान के
in the late 19 teens, Albert Einstein had a new hammer, and he was
Asymmetric. Okay, I'm tired of this. Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. Isotropic versus anisotropic. I'm not following. I'm not following him. What? Previous dimension? I don't understand. Yeah, the ether is a mechanical theory, and the vacuum is an unscientific. It's a magical. It's not a magical theory. It's just magic. Talking to me that things can wave through a vacuum. It's not even magical. It's against the very definition. It's definitionally impossible. The definition of a wave is a propagation through a medium. You cannot have. The first time I heard that electromagnetic waves wave through a vacuum, I was like, what the heck is going on? That doesn't make any sense. Where is my stream? I think this is. Where's my stream? Anyway, these are all comments from Jaws. Jaws. Everything is Jaws. Alright, Jaws, you gotta fix your mic so we can talk. You have a lot of comments. Oh, there's somebody else. Carlos, I'm a bit late on the stream. How do you explain supermassive black hole? Well, the question is how to explain a black hole. So first of all, I mean, that's what I'm curious about. Supermassive black holes, I understand that. I don't know if it's such a big deal to explain. The first thing that's important to me is to explain black holes in terms of Newtonian mechanics, Newtonian gravitational field. You don't need Einstein to create a black hole using a vector, like a gravitational vector field equation. I've done it. You get exactly, what's his name, Schwarzschild radius. You can develop the Schwarzschild radius directly from Newton. I'm not even the first one to do it, but I don't know why Schwarzschild was so happy. I mean, he just whatever. It's so anyway. Black holes are very simple. I don't know why. Even Einstein got lost in the math with black holes and with parallel universes. Yeah, Einstein took the wrong. But Einstein gave us the magical thinking. Einstein's relativity is not scientific, so So you expect everything else from Einstein to be complete nonsense. I mean, his some of his equations, I guess, are okay. I guess E equals mc squared is his contribution, and his general relativity, gravitational. I mean, his general relativity seems to be very good, but his interpretation of GR is terrible. A lot of his interpretations, a lot of his intuitions are good. A lot of them are terrible. There's a lot. He's a mixed bag. So I don't know. At this point, I don't know how to judge Einstein. I think he gave us 100 years of dark ages. The past 100 years have been a dark scientific dark age. I think it has to do with Einstein and his anti-science. It's basically anti-science because I don't know if it was his idea to abandon the ether. I don't know who came up with this notion that that the ether has been disproven. But once you disprove the ether, everything breaks down. Your science is magic. If there is a vacuum, then your science is magic, and if you expect everything to create contradictions and utter nonsense. You get. I think this is where you get all the nonsense from, just from denying the ether. And I don't know why you want to deny the ether. I don't see the reason to deny the ether, because Michelson got a null result. I can show you mathematically why he got. I'm trying to create an experiment to avoid the null result, and I believe in the ether. But the equipment you need is something he didn't have access to. You either need. I mean, I've had discussions about this. You need really complex experimental setups. Either you need a kilometer long, like at least a kilometer radius interferometer that needs to rotate horizontally. Fine. And until last night, I thought it's going to have to be vertical. So, either that or you can use like thousands of mirrors to bounce the beam back and forth in order to simulate like very long arms, or you use extremely high frequency and then you go into gamma rays regime, and then it becomes very dangerous, and then I don't know how to detect the interference. I mean, it becomes, it's not something, I don't think he had the equipment or, for that. But I need to see his prediction. What did he predict? What did Michelson predict? Anyway, let's get back to your questions. Jaws, I'm going to skip your questions because I've already discussed a lot of what you said. Carlos Paiva says, ether density and speed, for example, could explain time dilation due to gravity. I mean, ether is gravity. That is a quote from Einstein in 1920, and that is my immediate. As soon as you think of a scientific theory of why does the apple fall from the tree, you come up with a fluid that flows and drags the apple towards the ground. That fluid now gets in the way of particles. So you have to switch all your particles to waves. And then light, we know already is a wave, or we have to conclude immediately is a wave. And immediately you get quantum field theory from that. And that is the ether, because light waves through something. So that's the ether. So from the apple falling from the tree, Newton could have derived everything. He could have understood everything. And the fact that he left physics, probably that's the price we're paying. A guy named Distinti has a theory on that. He is in the process of releasing the final version. Okay. Carlos Favor. Also, it's not like GR provides an explanation. I'd call it a model. GR is nonsense. General relativity is a theory of gravity, but everyone misinterprets it, including Einstein. They say it's a theory whereby space-time is curved. That's meaningless words. That is the worst gobbledygook ever. That is the worst science. That's not science. Science has to be a simple mechanical model to explain a phenomenon. So GR is good when you look at the math, but everyone misinterprets the math. The math of GR is that there is a fluid flowing in the universe. You can call it the ether. Einstein called it the ether, and it flows towards massive bodies, and because of the flow, you get it's called Gaussian flow, and you get the inverse square law that immediately comes with the inverse square law. And Leonard Susskind discusses this in his first couple of lectures in his course General Relativity. But even he misinterprets general relativity, because he says you can imagine gravity as a fluid. It's not a fluid, but you can imagine it as a. Why not? Why is it not a fluid? I mean, the equations, even the Newtonian, it's Gaussian flow. It's a flow of a liquid. So I don't know what's going on anyway. So yeah, GR is not GR. I don't know what to say about it, because mathematically, I think it's okay. I didn't finish the course yet. It seems to be okay. The math seems to be okay, but the interpretation that you hear from basically everyone, with minor exceptions on YouTube, there's some people who made 3D models of the flow of space. Very few people have done this. Most people do the sheet that you put the ball in the middle of the sheet and it creates a curve and things, and that's how you get gravity. That's nonsense. That has nothing to do. Yeah, because that's the curved geometry or the curved space, but that's not gravity. Gravity is the flow of space. Okay, Carlos, since it comes from imagination, Jaws. I'll skip that. Okay, Carlos says happened to work, but we don't really know why. I didn't go through the development of I didn't go through the entire course yet, so I don't know how exactly how the equations work. But the derivation from, if it's true that you can derive Newtonian gravity from Einstein GR, then from Newtonian, I can easily create the Newtonian velocity vector field equation, which is the flow of space. And that's how I came to the flow of space. Once I had that, like I could see that the space flows. Once it flew, once it was flowing, once it flowed, once it was flowing, once space was a liquid, I had to come up the next day, the next morning. I was so confused, and I was like, oh, okay, then how do particles move around in this very rigid fluid? I don't understand. Then I came up with, I said, oh, then everything must be a wave. Oh, that's the particle wave duality. Oh, so everything made sense. Once you look at Einstein's math objectively, without listening to everyone how they interpret it, including Einstein, then it's a good model. But you don't need it. You can just come up with this model yourself. You don't need Einstein. You don't need GR. You can just think of why would an apple? Why is an apple suddenly it's floating it's floating in the middle of the room or in the middle of the field. It's attached to the tree. It becomes disconnected. Now it's starting to accelerate towards the ground with no strings attached. How could that be? You have to come up with an explanation. The only explanation you can come up with is that there is a flow of space that's dragging the apple. It's dragging everybody towards the ground. It's dragging the ground towards the center of the earth. Everything is being dragged, and this drag has to extend to infinity. But at infinity, the space is flowing very slowly at near zero. But over here, it must be very fast because it was accelerating slowly with the inverse square law. It's accelerating. Okay, so at Earth, and then I calculated at Earth, it's flowing at 10,000 meters per second. Anyway, Carlos, we have no idea what space-time is. Yeah, space, I don't use time. I don't care about time. Time is just an illusion of the ticking of clocks. There is no time. I don't know what time is, but I mean, we know what time is, but you don't need space-time. You don't need that confusing term. You just say space, but space is confusing. What do you mean by space? Because space is also the geometry. So what's the difference between the geometry and space? So I don't say space, just say the ether. Senes is the presentation. He goes through each experiment. In the presentation, he goes through, let me go through some of the comments. Okay, Carlos, no special relativity is not part of quantum mechanics. Yes, it is. Of course it is. Special relativity, if you just assume, right? So the assumption was that light is a wave. So they concluded light is a wave because of Young's experiment. So light is a wave. Wait, what was I thinking? Special relativity is not part of QM, of quantum mechanics. But if light is a wave, it's waving through the ether. So it's waving through the ether. So this ether, what was I thinking? So special relativity, right. So you don't need special relativity. Well, special relativity is a complete joke. You don't need it. Once you assume the ether fills the universe, then just look at this video. There's this video, which I always have open, from Dialect. What time dilation actually is in reality. Hint, it has nothing to do with time. And they use a sound clock to tick. They use sound, and they develop the Lorentz time dilation directly from a sound wave clock. So you don't need a theory of relativity. You don't need it at all. You don't need it at all if you just assume the ether. If you assume the ether, is this liquid that fills the universe and light travels through it, then then you get wave. It's not. I wouldn't even call it relativity. It's just wave mechanics. Just look at this video from Dialect. Oh, you couldn't see it. Just look at this video from Dialect. They develop time dilation and they can develop length contraction just the same from just because they have a clock based on sound waves. So time dilation and length contraction come from simple wave mechanics. It's just simple waves. It's not even wave it's just from understanding, just from a notion that sound is a wave through the air. Just from that, you develop all the equations of special relativity. Well, not E equals mc squared, and no, I didn't see yet how to develop relativistic mass and relativistic momentum, but time dilation and length contraction, I mean, time dilation for sure. Length contraction, I don't know if they did it, but I think it's doable. I don't see why not. So that comes out of the ether, not that it doesn't fit the ether. So you're saying no, special relativity is not part of quantum mechanics. Wait. So special relativity doesn't exist. It's just wave mechanics. Everything is waving. And quantum mechanics just says that you have this quantum, that everything is a wave. Otherwise, you don't understand it. But if all that quantum mechanics needs to say is that everything is a wave, then we're done. Of course, quantum mechanics fits the ether. We need to stop talking about special relativity. It's just wave mechanics. If Dialect can develop all the Lorentz transforms, at least they did time dilation, I can easily probably do length contraction. So it's just, it has nothing to do, there is no special relativity. There's nothing special about Einstein's relativity. It's just relativity. You could say relativity in waves. It's the relativity of waves. That's all it is. Let's assume we only have waves. We don't have particles. Now let's talk about, from the preferred reference frame of the medium, what can we say about a moving clock? What can we say about a moving ruler and stuff like that? And you get everything that special relativity says, you get just from assuming ether. That's it. That's all you need. So to tell, and the ether is quantum mechanics because everything has to be a wave. The universe is filled with a liquid. So of course you get waves in this universe. The reason why quantum mechanics came into existence is because we thought there was particles, because we thought there was a vacuum. Because Einstein said it's a vacuum. And I don't know if he ever said that. But if there is no vacuum, if everything is filled with a field, with ether, then everything must be waving. That is quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics, I mean, at least that's the part that says everything is a wave. There are no particles. There are only waves. Yeah, quantum field theory. Carlos, and they are not even in line with each other 100%. Yeah, I don't care about whatever. I mean, I don't have a problem with anything. Everything seems to fit together once you assume ether. Ether is what's his name? Edge, Occam's razor. Ether is Occam's razor when it comes to modern physics. All of modern physics reverts into classical mechanics, into classical physics when you just assume ether. The reason you need modern physics is because you assume there is no ether. Okay, if you assume something unscientific, of course you're gonna need nonsensical whatever, not total nonsense in order to explain the universe. Okay, Carlos, the thing that attempts to join them. What? Well, that ignores some inconsistency between the two theories. Which two theories? Quantum mechanics and special relativity? No, there is. If you just ignore special relativity, consider the ether and just waves, then that part of quantum mechanics that talks about waves, that every particle is a wave, it's everything fits together. Okay, I can't read all the comments. It's too difficult for my brain. It's putting me to sleep. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't read all that. No, no, no. My brain is falling asleep. I need. It's too much. It's too much. Okay. It's too boring. No, no, no. Guys, I'm not going to read. Waves are something that something does. Exactly. Which is the ether. Yeah. Okay. So no one has audio. Jaws doesn't have audio. Let me close some windows. I can't have so many windows open. This guy, let's try and listen to him a little bit more.
In a very physical, mechanical way, and you can have waves that are based upon the way in which a medium
Yeah, that's good.
behaves. In other words, a wave is a behavior, not a thing that exists necessarily. So then there's no arbitrary selection of rays from spherical emanations. There are aspects of the way in which you emanate something emanate spherically because of the ways in which we use this improper teaching of relativity. You can select rays in a somewhat arbitrary fashion that can cause problems when you're trying to do something like holography. And there's no solid system. What I mean,
Holography? Why are you mentioning holography? I don't know.
this is that the constancy that we are taught, in other words, the one that is I'm telling you is the false.
Wait, somebody entered? Oh, somebody left? Amber left. Okay.
Teaching of constancy, whereas there is a constancy that does actually really exist. But the one that we are taught is that you have this solipsistic sort of, everything is related to you or to your current frame that you're calculating from. And as I've brought out in previous lectures, basically, remember that I am not saying that Minkowski space-time is worthless or directly wrong. It is a tool that can be useful because of the fact that there is this equivalence, this mathematical equivalence between these two versions of the theory, these two interpretations. Because there's the equivalence, you can use Minkowski and get lots of right answers and also get something where you cannot separate an illusory answer from a correct answer. And there's a lot of other missing information that you do not get that you do get through Poincare and Lorentz. So this then allows.
Yeah, it just simplifies. I mean, it's like looking at the world with the Earth centric versus sun centric. Wait, I have a phone call. I can't take it. So when you look at the sun as the center, it just simplifies the picture. You can look at the universe with the Earth at the center, and it's just going to be a nightmare. Hold on, let me just text back. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. 1 second. Let's continue.
Us to have rational mechanics. Wow, no, the lack of sleep is really shocking. Rational mechanics for.
Oh, he has lack of sleep too. Yeah, me too.
The Roy-Bohm trajectories, as well as rational mechanics for the entanglement effects and how those work in a fluid paradigm. Then
how would you figure? Wait, so what's the explanation to entanglement? Because I would just say entanglement doesn't violate the speed of light information propagation. So Einstein said, or you could say that the fastest way the ether can transmit information is at the speed of the propagation of waves through the ether, namely the speed of light. Okay. That's the fastest, but entanglement is faster. Okay, but entanglement doesn't transmit data. There's no information being transmitted. So there is no violation. What I was thinking is that, so a wave of information is always a sphere, an expanding sphere. And okay, so I'm transmitting a signal, even a radio wave. I have a radio antenna, and I'm transmitting from my radio tower a signal. Let's say I'm sending a volt wave through the tower, and that creates a shock wave in the electromagnetic, in the ether, and everybody gets the signal. Many people hear the signal. Okay, But what if it's a very faint signal? So it only has the the energy of a single photon, according to Planck. So Planck said, whatever, there's a minimal energy. So what if it's the minimal energy that I'm investing in sending this wave from my radio tower? So only one electron in the universe can perceive it. Once they perceive it, the wave collapses and no one else can perceive it because it's the minimal amount of energy that can be transmitted. But the question is, how does that work? So, I mean, it could work, but it looks like it's violating the speed of light. It looks like once anyone in the universe perceived that signal, that wave, the wave collapses and just disappears. And basically, you could say it becomes a particle. You don't even have to say it becomes a particle. You don't. There are no particles. It's just that only one electron in the universe, only one, and that's the idea of the photon. So this minimal energy can be detected only by one detector in the universe, because right, I'm sending a wave from a radio tower of the energy of the minimal energy according to Planck. So energy equals hf, and h is a tiny number. And let's say the frequency is very low. It's, let's say, I don't know, I don't even know. It's a radio wave is very long and very slow frequency. So I'm just sending one, just minimal energy, very little energy. So only one electron or one sensor in the universe is gonna. A sensor is basically an electron. Only one is gonna get it, because that's all. Wait, what was that? I just heard like a tick. What was that tick? I don't know. Okay, John says, Mr. Slave, I like you, my dude, but you are now talking word salad. Wait, what? I'm talking. Wait, come on, come talk to me. What do you mean word salad? Entanglement? I figured. I mean, entanglement is. Look, you're sending. Okay, let's discuss this. I've discussed it before. I'll gladly discuss it again. What do you mean word salad? Why would you say that? I mean that. Here, let me show you. Yeah, 1 second. Okay, so create new. So this is going to be entanglement with the ether. Okay, this is a little bit confusing, but there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, it seems to be the way just the nature works, as they say. Look, so let's say here's, oh my God. Here's the ground. Here's my radio tower. I have a radio tower, or I just have an antenna, like an antenna, right? So I have this device. I have static energy, like you get when you get shocked in the winter. So here is the antenna, and there is a ball here and a ball here, and it's going to create the tiniest spark between these two. I'm going to just create the tiniest spark. A single electron has gone through. That's the most minimal energy. The most minimal energy I could have created in the universe. The most minimal electric shock wave I could send in the universe. So I sent it. It got sent. Okay, so now there's a sphere of this shock wave of information. So what happened? So an electron moved. Okay, so an electron moved. Right, so let's talk about what happens when an electron moves. So here's the electron, and it moved from here to here. That's all that happened. That is the only change to this universe that just took place. Okay, so let's talk about another electron over here. This is going to be our test particle. So before this, right? So let's look at the force diagram. So from the center of this electron to this electron, this is the force that the electron felt before, right? This is electron 1. It moved from here to here, and this is electron 2. So electron 2 felt a vector, a force vector change from this direction. Now it's this direction. It's a little bit different. The angle changed. Okay, but number 2 is a test particle. You can imagine there is infinite test particles. You don't have to imagine that there is a test particle. I mean, that's a field, right? You're imagining that there could be an infinite test particles all over the universe that could be influenced by this motion. Okay, let's continue to the next slide. So what basically happened is something changed in the universe, and there is a shock wave, right? When this happens, so you could say, right, you could think about the ether field, which is the electromagnetic field, and this force is mediated by the ether field somehow. It's a force. I don't know how it's mediated. I mean, there's theories how it happens with virtual particles. I didn't get there yet. I didn't, but as far as I know, quantum field theory explains it. So that shouldn't be an issue. Anyway, so the propagation, it's not a wave, but the propagation of this change from the time this moved until the time this changed. So it has to do with the speed of light. So it took the speed of light, or is it? Oh, it might be instantaneous. It could be that this change is instantaneous. Wait a minute. It could be instantaneous. No, it's a wave. There's energy involved. This is a wave. This is literally an electromagnetic wave. So I don't know. I mean, we as far as I know, it's a wave. Let's assume it's a wave. It's a wave with energy, right? There is potential energy in this wave because it's a change. It can do work, right? Let's say this electron was here and now there's a different force. Is there force? Is it doing force over distance? I don't know. Anyway, the idea is that I don't know enough electromagnetism and stuff. I'm assuming that this change, this is literally an electromagnetic wave. This is just an electromagnetic wave. I mean, this causes not just an electric shock; it's an electric and a magnetic shock that travels through the universe. Now, let's say this change, this can travel to one side of the universe, and this can travel to the other side of the universe. So there could be, in the far future, an electron here that interacts with this wave and absorbs the energy. And there could be an electron on the other side of the universe that interacts with this wave here and absorbs the energy of this wave. But the energy of this wave is, according to Planck, it's the minimal energy. This is Planck's minimal energy. So whatever the frequency of radio wave is, we multiply it by h, and it's a very small number, and that is what is called a photon. Whatever that means, I don't know what it means. But it's the minimal energy that right? That is the most minimal energy that we could endow into a system, into the universe. We cannot, according to Planck. I mean, that is the ultraviolet catastrophe. So his solution was to use H. And he said there is, for every frequency, there is a minimal energy that you can endow into the universe. That is, and I didn't look too much into the ultraviolet catastrophe. I'm assuming everything. I'm assuming no one is lying, and I understand it correctly. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, the point is that there could be now an interaction with an electron on this side of the universe or on this side of the universe simultaneously. So whichever electron is going to interact with this energy and absorb this minimal energy, it can't be both, because that would be a violation of Planck. You can't endow a minimal energy into a system and get it absorbed. It's either the photon is absorbed or it's not absorbed. You cannot say half of the energy will go to this electron, half will go, and half. You cannot spread out this. It can't. This is unbreakable. This is the minimal amount of energy. It's either somebody gets it, some electron or proton gets this energy, or or not. But if one of them gets it, no one else can. But if the distance between these electrons is the two sides of the universe, how does that happen? So when this electron decides maybe to get, if the universe decides to impart the energy to this electron, well, it's not going to impart it to this electron. But let's say they are hit at the same time. How you need now the information needs to go from this side of the universe to this side of the universe instantaneously, and it does. This is entanglement. So entanglement seems to violate the speed of light, but there is no information traveling. No information. Where's the information? I didn't send a signal across the universe. There's no information. There's no signaling taking place. So there is a wave, a single wave, and when that wave becomes a particle or is interfered or interacts with the system, it collapses. I don't say it's the wave function, I just say it's a wave. This wave, as soon as it interacts, it gave away its energy, and instantaneously, it's like a bubble that disappears. When you interact with it, it's gone. Instantaneously. It moves, a bubble, like a soap bubble, moves very, very slowly in space. But as soon as you interact with it, it pops instantaneously. It's faster than you can see. You need slow motion cameras to see how it slowly pops. But as far as we're concerned, it's instantaneous. So that's how I understand entanglement. Now the question is, if there is ether here and these waves travel through the ether at the speed of 300 meters per second, why is this traveling instantaneously? Isn't this a violation of the waves in ether? Yeah, I don't know. I didn't come up. I don't know how the ether works yet. That far I didn't go. I mean, there's many things I don't understand, but as long as we understand the rules of nature, it's a first step. We still have other steps. I'm not saying I understand nature completely, but I can certainly understand entanglement with ether better than I did without ether, because without ether, I don't understand why the wave exists in the first place. I don't see, why do we have the speed of light in the first place if there is no ether? So let's see what you're saying. I don't know. You're writing so much. Joes, you fix your mic, man. What? Well, I don't understand. Okay, electron and photon added together is a fraction of the Planck energy. Electron and photon. I don't know. You gotta talk to me, man. I don't know. I might be completely wrong. I'm falling asleep from all this talking. Energy density contributed by electrons is a fraction of this. It doesn't? I don't know. So just talk to me when you get your mic figured out. Talk to me. I don't know. That's how I understand it. Okay, let's continue listening to this guy, which is where this guy.
Then there's also mechanical reasoning for a host of other various abstractions. But the thing is, absolute simultaneity. You can have absolute simultaneity and different clock rates. So what I'm doing is giving you an idea of what it is.
Absolute simultaneity and what?
I need to tell you a bunch of things I'm about to tell you. I'm giving you some sort of a preloading. What it is that I need you to kind of focus on. What it is that we're explaining. So absolute simultaneity versus relative simultaneity. Relative simultaneity comes specifically from Minkowski's conjoining of space with time. Absolute simultaneity, however, is something that is some people might think gets rid of the idea of changing of time. I'm not saying that. You can have both absolute simultaneity and differing clock rates. So The interpretational difference leads to some numerical differences at extremities that are difficult to explain. I'm not going to get into it in this lecture, but basically the distances to stars can be calculated based on additional information from the CMB. Of course,
I don't understand what he's talking about. How is this relevant to the CMB? I don't know. The cosmic microwave background. Why is there an issue with that? I don't know.
As I said, there's 5 different quotes of Einstein saying constancy must be abandoned. And it's because one of the things
you can get Einstein is Heisenberg. Einstein said everything and its reverse depending on the direction of wind in North China Sea. I've heard everything and anything from Einstein, so I don't see the point of quoting Einstein.
where we've been taught.
You can get anything from Einstein, and its opposite.
The constancy is somewhat like the word, and it's not. Constancy is not constant. All waves in a homogeneous medium, the wave goes through at a constant speed.
So constancy, I guess you're referring to the constancy of the speed of light. If you assume ether, you automatically get the speed of propagation of energy in the medium known as ether. You don't need to assume the speed of light. It's just wave mechanics. So Einstein's theory of relativity, special relativity is complete and utter nonsense. You don't need it.
Even if you're told the word constant,
there's nothing special. There's nothing relative. It's just wave mechanics.
We believe that is what they mean, but that is not what is meant by constancy. Constancy is an effect.
I'm surprised that this guy hasn't said it yet, that it's just wave mechanics. When was this? 24. So this is after Dialect's video. So Dialect already explained to us that there is no special relativity. There's just wave mechanics. If you understand wave mechanics, that's it. And it's still, there's nothing even to understand about wave mechanics. It's simple geometry. But once you assume ether, then what's his name? Lorentz transformations or transforms come out of it. So that's it.
That is in no other way phenomenon. And for it to work in the way we are taught, you have to have a fourth dimension to warp reality around this version of constancy. Relative simultaneity.
Fourth dimension? I don't need, time. Time is, you could view time as a dimension, but time is just an illusion, obviously.
It is an effect that is additional clock rate differences. It is the exploitation of the fourth dimension.
Clocks, yeah. You can have a dimension called clock. I don't know if you can have a dimension. I wouldn't say there's a time dimension. Whatever.
It gives you these additional 3D realities to use. So whenever you have a conflict within a 3D reality based upon this constancy effect, you can actually exploit the additional dimension to explain how this internal inconsistency can be consistent with an additional dimension. So in other words, the version of relativity we are taught today that is not like the one that Bell was talking about and not like the one I want you to entertain and understand. It gives you this version of reality where you have to have additional 3D realities to make up for the fact that there is this conflict that a lot of people have.
Why do you need to talk about 3D, 4D? I don't see how that's relevant.
Noticed, and it's made them, whenever you're first exposed to relativity as, when you're first in college or wherever it is that you're first exposed to, sometimes there's this feeling of wanting to reject it. Well, it's because there is this way in which people immediately recognize what appears to be a conflict within an internal inconsistency. Now, that internal inconsistency is, I will be explaining how that is illusory in 3 dimensions as well. In other words, that you do not actually require fourth.
There's no conflicts in wave mechanics, so I don't care about any conflicts in special relativity. It's just wave mechanics.
But once again, there's a subtle differentiation.
It's just waves. If your clock works on the same waves as, if of the media that it's moving through, then you get relativity. What's known as relativity, which is nonsense. It's just waves. That's it. Simple geometry.
I'm hoping to make you understand in this lecture that like I said, it hasn't been taught in at least 30 years. So he required this fourth dimension to assume isotropic constancy, and so basically must.
Okay, I'm lost at this point. That's enough. Okay, so time. Why are you guys not joining me on Discord for a discussion? Joe's, what's going on? You're not gonna fix your mic? Okay, and we have Joe's. And Carlos hasn't been here in a while. So only Joe's, you keep correct, but still no ether. What? I'm eating. Now you're eating? I need to go drink my protein shake. Okay, we've been here for over 2 hours. Let's stop here. I still need to discuss the title of this video. Let's prove Einstein's equivalence principle wrong and Galileo's too. So we can prove it wrong. That's more important, I think, than anything else. If we can prove that wrong, so the equivalence principle, I think I can prove it wrong. So if I'm sitting in the rocket ship or on Earth, and I have three, I need, I can take the interferometer. If I can get the interferometer to work, if it's big, the bigger it is, or if I'm using very high energy beams, very high energy light, or a combination of those two, and I check the three dimensions of space, then I can tell the direction. Wait, what happened? Oh, we lost this guy. So I can tell the direction of the motion of the ether. And so in the next video, we'll discuss it. And I think it's doable. I think it's definitely doable. You can sit and you can easily violate Einstein's equivalence principle. And that is also Galileo's equivalence principle, because Galileo said the same thing. You can sit at the bottom of a ship. Yeah, I saw you left the room. It's okay. You could sit at the bottom of a ship and not know what the ship is doing, moving forward, backward, side. You would never know, Galileo said. Well, that's not true if you have sensitive equipment. Besides a compass. So you can use a compass, which is already, you are looking at the ether. But let's say you don't have a compass, you could have an interferometer, and then you are again looking at the ether. This time, you're looking at the gravitational field. And so what? So Galileo is going to tell us don't bring any equipment? Okay, well, if I don't have any equipment, yeah, you might be right. But if I have, I can bring equipment, I can find out exactly what the ship is doing. And the same goes for Einstein. With an interferometer, of course I know if I'm on Earth or in a spaceship. In a spaceship, there's going to be, right, on Earth, there's ether flowing through me. And if I'm accelerating in space, I don't think there's ether flowing through me. There's ether flowing through me, not as if because of acceleration, but rather because of velocity. So in any case, I think Einstein's equivalence principle is incorrect. We need to look at, has anyone proven Einstein's equivalence principle? Do we get time dilation? That should be a separate issue. Do we get time dilation? What's the evidence that there is time dilation just from acceleration? I mean, maybe we can prove it, because I'm curious about that. Okay, Jaws, I gotta go. I'm falling asleep. I gotta go drink something. So results supported the theory's predictions about how space-time is curved by the Earth's mass and spins with its rotation, negating the need for ether to explain these concepts. Results supported the theory's predictions. Everything, I don't know what you said, but everything you seem to say seems to also support the theory of ether. So the theory that there is no ether makes every phenomenon to become unscientific. I don't understand a universe in which there is no ether. A vacuum universe makes no sense. How does light travel through a vacuum? That makes no sense. So you can be nonsensical. That's fine. According to me, according to my science, you're just being unscientific. I don't need to prove anything. An etherless universe is an unscientific universe, and I don't care for that explanation. That's not an explanation. That's an anti-explanation. So it doesn't to tell me that this disproves ether. You cannot disprove ether if you believe light is a wave, if you believe gravity works, if you believe an apple falls from a tree towards the earth. You need to explain how that works. And telling me it's the curvature of space-time, you might as well tell me it's because God said so. That's nonsense. That's not an explanation. Okay, last comment, and I'm going to get a drink. Okay, if your ether is a thing, then it has already failed. Then you need to tell me, look, okay, whatever. Stop. I told you. Okay, no, I gotta go. So why don't you get your mic going so you can join me on Discord if you want. I'll give you a link to this room, but you gotta be able to talk. So let's take a break. I wish I could sleep, but the least I can do is get a drink, and we'll come back in a couple of minutes and continue. And I'll explain my position. Okay. All right, guys. See you later. Bye.